Welcome back to the Fire Emblem Awakening playthrough. Last time, we saved Chell, Na, Cynthia, and Noir from the clutches of Gary Stu's armies, and we even defeated Gary Stu himself once and for all. But the dark future is still in danger. 4 more children are under attack as they try and get 2 gemstones back to Yllis, and it's our job to save them. And saving them has actually been quite a challenge for me. This map turned out to be a lot more difficult than I expected it to be. So yeah, that's annoying. I've had to make a few interesting preparations. So I prepared all the characters we're going to need, and I've given them all the right weapons. However, you might notice here that I've kind of pumped Brady with steroids. Yeah, basically I have used a bunch of spirit dust on him, also used Ticky's Tear to boost all his stats by 2, and yeah, the reason for that is I am gonna need to be relying on him quite a lot here. Particularly, I need him to be able to one-shot certain enemies with Forcetti, and in order to do that, his magic needed to be a little bit higher, so I've kinda had to abuse performance-enhancing drugs on him. I've also used a bunch of stat boosters on a few other characters, like I've given Crom a Seraph Robe, because it's the end of the game, there's no point in holding on to them any longer. Also, yeah, I had to make Lissa a Dark Flyer, and to do that I had to grind her to level 10 Sage, and so her stats are stupidly high. I really didn't want to do this, but I actually had no choice. I basically found out through practice runs that it is literally impossible to save 2 of the kids if you don't have a flyer. Because later on, some enemies spawn that head right for them, they one-round them, and there's nothing you can do about it, so you actually need to intercept them with a flyer. And because nobody else here in my main team that I was bringing it was a flyer, I kind of had to train Lissa as one. So, yeah, that also means we're -1 healer. Yeah, that's annoying. But, you know what? Brady could replace his physic with Maribel's Catharsis, because, she might actually not be needing that at this point. Now, all the rest is kind of fine, so I thought now would be a good time to do a few of these supports, seeing as, well, these characters are going to be the focus of this chapter. So, Brady and Yarne. This might actually help, too.
Yeah.
And once again, Brady getting himself injured. Good thing his father is surprisingly bulky for a mage. Especially now that I actually put Ricken through a Great Knight, so his defense is very, very high.
Huh? Oh, thanks.
Well, I'm pretty sure that Yarne carries a lot of medicine on him. Interesting. Brady has sewn other people's wounds shut with magic, but he's not used to seeing that happen to himself. You know, part of the reasons why I kind of like Yarne is I actually am a bit of a hypochondriac in real life. In fact, I'm actually very similar to Yarne in some respects.
You want some? What?
But yeah, it's training time. Then again, these conversations make less sense when Yarne has been amazing in battle so far. And he's about to be even more amazing. Yeah, that line, mostly safe, means slightly deadly. I think that way all the time in real life. Bleeds into my attitude with games as well, with 1% criticals and things like that.
Don't eat me!
Well, that's an interesting support, but it's alright. Now we have, I kinda wish this was Inigo and Owain and not Jerome, because that would be more appropriate, but we may as well start this.
Hey there. What?
The interesting thing about Inigo is that his supports with male characters, he's a lot more jerkish than he is to female characters, at least at first. And he grunted once.
No. Huh? Pathetic.
Jerem's all like, I am angsty hero, I don't need friends. Even though he already learned about that in Lucina's supports. Yeah, that's a problem with supports in this game. Characters tend to forget their development whenever another support starts.
What?
I'm surprised Inigo escaped without a life, actually, given how Minerva is. I'm not entirely sure what Inigo was doing with all that butter, and I don't think I want to know. That's kind of funny, though. No, he's not mad at you. He's just an angsty loner hero. That's kind of his thing.
Huh?
Well, you got that right. Jerome doesn't even want to get on with his own parents, so that's kind of normal. Again, I wish I could have got away in an Inigo support, but I'll probably get it after this chapter, which means it's going to be incredibly ironic, because you'll see reverse character development. Anyway, it's time to head out. Wait, first, before we do that, skills. I forgot to do this last time, so... The children that we're going to be dealing with this time are Owain, Inigo, Brady, and Yarne, so we want to make sure that we have the right skills in the bottom part of our list. And in fact, Rally Movement is not a bad... Wait, actually no. Rally Movement is in fact completely useless for Owain because he can't move at all, and neither can the guy standing next to him, so that's useless. So, I guess the best that we can give him, Rally Resistance is semi-useless, seeing as they're not going to be fighting many magic users. Really, Miracle is actually the best thing I can give him, so I'm going to put that on the bottom of the... No, I didn't mean remove. The skill interface is actually a little bit hard to deal with sometimes. Miracle's probably the best here. Next is, for Brady, Rickhand. So... Brady in this chapter has no weapon, so passing him down offensive skills like Life Taker or Luna, completely useless as his focus. So Slow Burn is the best I can actually do here. Just need to keep reordering until Slow Burn goes to the bottom. Next, Maribel. You know, weirdly enough, Demoiselle is actually the best out of these skills. Because it'll give an evasion bonus to the guy that he's going to be near for most of this. Now, Yarne in this chapter can fight, so passing him lethality might not actually be a bad idea. Brady's own skills have no effect on, but let's see. Yeah, I think I need all of these, especially Magic +2 and Tome Fair. Yarne, again, his skills don't matter. Gregor, okay, what skill should I give to Inigo? He's not going to be fighting any axe users. I actually think Soul is the best one to give him. Also, I put Gregor through Berserker, so his strength is a lot higher now. Gaius, okay, what to pass down to Yarne? Actually, Soul is not a bad idea, though Movement +1 is actually quite good. The only reason why I'm not considering Movement +1 at the moment... See, normally Movement +1 is a fantastic skill to pass down to Yarne or Brady if you can. But the only problem with this is I'm actually a little worried that it might screw up my battle plan that I have, which relies on Brady and Yarne to be in certain points at certain times. So I'm actually going to give him Soul. As for Lonku, don't really need a Void +10. I'll just give him Lethality. And I'm pretty sure that's enough, actually. So, skills are in order. Now, let's travel to the dark future. Our second battle in this world. Naga's gonna have to summon us once again for the Future Past 2. But since Gary Stu's dead, who else can Mary Sue throw at us?
Now.
Yeah, we've got another tough battle on our hands, but if we're to save the world from Mary Sue, we have to do it. The first 4 children managed to survive. Now, here's the thing about this DLC. Since it is in fact DLC, it's entirely possible that you haven't even bought Future Past 1 and you're playing this one without it, or you're playing Future Past 2 before 1. So basically, this conversation does not take into account anything that you've done in Future Past 1. The 4 children from the first one are always assumed to have survived, regardless of what you did. So, after we save them, the next 4 succeeded in retrieving Argent and Sable. They should be careful with Sable, otherwise they might turn out like Garneth. Unfortunately, Mary Sue sent her best risen after them, and they were overwhelmed and killed. And the gemstones were lost, and Mary Sue ruled the world.
Heed me.
And without all the children, the world has no hope. We need to save them all. And again, we'll see characters who greatly resemble our own, so we've got some conversations to do. Let's reshape destiny once more. So we start out here on a pretty cool looking map, a very stormy cliff with these bridges and rain. It's pretty cool. I like to think that this is Breakneck Pass, although judging by some lines that these characters say later on, it's actually, I think, implied to be closer to the Midmire, back where we fought that incredibly emotional battle that was Chapter 10. Considering this is supposed to be somewhere near Pledgia. Now, as for the characters that we're going to bring, we have on this map Inigo and Owain, who, as you can see, here they have these skills. So we've got Inigo and Owain, and they've got some fairly bog-standard weapons, except Owain, who annoyingly has his joke weapon. And if you've been training their parents, they'll have decent stats, but really it doesn't matter that much because the enemies that are coming for them initially are really pathetic. There is absolutely no way these Cavaliers and random archers are going to be a threat to them. Who you really need to be concerned about is Brady, who has no weapons and is only focused on running away, and Yarne, who can fight back, but kinda not all that well because he's fairly low level, so these two are trying to run away and escape the map. So this is kind of an escape mission, except the twist is it's not you who's escaping, it's an NPC. Of course, that's really annoying because you have no control over them, and that leads to, well, mishaps. Now, the biggest threat to the fleers are these flying units, and that's the reason why I have made sure to bring very strong wind magic users and very strong archers. Trust me, you will need them here, because there's going to be even more enemies as well. Now, the Dark Flyers have renewal, but really there's no point in that, because if you don't kill them in one turn, you are going to pay for it. Falcon Knights with Spears and Lance Fair, and these Dark Flyers with things like Gale Force. Now, the Dark Flyers will kill Yarne instantly, and quite possibly Brady. The Falcon Knights will occasionally kill Brady instantly if they have Lance Fair, but if they don't, then Brady might survive sometimes, although I had him survive on 1 HP in one of my practice runs, so it's very, very close. You've also got to deal with some other enemies here, so pretty bog-standard sniper. A Risen Sorcerer who for some reason has Bowbreaker as a trap for you trying to snipe this Falcon Knight early. Now, all the tricksters on this map have pass, so be careful of them. They're going to bypass your blockades and go straight for the fleers. So, you want to watch out for that. Now, the Great Knights in this chapter all have, some of them have Indoor Fighter even though we're outdoors, so that's pointless, but they also all have Lunar and some Breaker skills. The enemy really loves to spam the Breaker skills in this chapter, so that can get pretty annoying. They're going to have fairly high hit rates against you. There are also generals that are packing both Pavis and Agis, but thankfully not Vengeance this time. That's not to say that there aren't any enemies with Vengeance here. There are these Dark Knights that have Vengeance and Life Taker. They're a pretty decent combination of skills, actually. But, stronger than all of these is the boss of this chapter. It is Mary Sue Jr., Mary Sue's other kid from the future that she conveniently forgot to tell us about. Yes, there is another to take up Gary Stu's work. Mary Sue has sent her with one purpose. Kill the children. Kill them all. She has some pretty crazily high stats, including maxed resistance. max strength and also skill, the Hort Claire, which means if you don't finish her off in one turn, she's gonna fully heal. She also has Bowbreaker, so yeah, you're thinking of using archers on her? Nope. Fortunately though, she doesn't have Tonebreaker, so she does have a pretty heavy weakness to wind magic. Of course, again, you want to take her out in one turn if possible, because Vantage is gonna hurt, and she also has Pervise, but once again, Pervise does not work on magic, so she has a pretty big weakness to wind. Now, something else to note here, you'll notice that if I hover over the bridge here, the terrain indicator says cliff, and yet if I hover over these bridges, it says bridge. There is a reason for this, and we'll find out that reason when we actually start the chapter. So speaking of which, who we're going to bring here? I want to bring all of the parents who have and all of the alternate counterparts of these children. Unfortunately, reason why I hate this chapter number 1. You do not have enough deployment slots to bring everyone you need for all the conversations. In fact, you're exactly 1 short. Game designers, you troll. You massive, massive trolls. This is just... why? Really, why? Why would you do this when in the last Future Past you do have enough slots, and in Future Past 3 you do have enough slots, but for some reason you don't have enough slots in 2. I don't know why, but there you go. So, I'm gonna have to kick someone out and record their conversation later. And who I've decided that will do that is actually Maribel. The reason being, she's the most fragile, she'll give less of a speed boost to Brady, and I don't want to kick out any parent or, well, anyone who has a conversation with Owain and Inigo, because getting their conversations in this chapter is an unholy pain. So I want to get them all in one attempt if possible. Brady and Yarne, it's perfectly fine if you miss their conversations. Since they're running right at you, it's very, very easy to get their conversations at a later time, so that's what I'm going to do. Also, I need Inigo here. His C rank in bows, and this is why I've kept him as a bow knight, by the way, is going to be very, very useful for taking out the flying units. So speaking of that, I want to make sure that he can shoot this one right off the bat. Speaking of right off the bat, I'm going to need to do a very specific combination of things to ensure that I kill as many of these enemies on the first turn. Basically, 1, 2, 3, and 4. All of them must die on turn 1, or I'm going to be in real trouble later on. As for Olivia, I think I can afford to move her a little bit forward. I've trained Olivia a bit up in Assassin, so you might witness the hilarity of her getting a lethality, but probably won't be happening. Now, where's Longku? There's Longku. Trained Longku as well, and I only stopped because he was starting to get equally as strong as his son, and that doesn't really feel right, so I am not doing that. Just need to make sure that somebody can get to this archer at the first occasion. And where Gregor? There's Gregor. It's Gregor time. Yes, it certainly will be in this chapter. Although, I just realized something. If I put... Okay, Inigo there, he can still shoot this enemy. But if I put Lissa down here, she can actually reach this sorcerer on turn 1. And I may actually want to do that, because that's going to take some pressure off of me later on. Now... just so I don't have to keep going over my battle plan repeatedly every time I restart this chapter, because I probably will have to restart it, my plan here is to send a few characters up here to cut off the pursuing cavalry, while I keep most of the rest of the army on this initial cliff to form a wall to hopefully take out any flyers before they cut off Brady and Yarne. Brady and Yarne are at no danger at first, but once they get to about here, it gets to the point where some flyer reinforcements move right in to cut them off, and if you don't have some people back here to protect them, you are going to suffer. In fact, sometimes it's a good idea to have Olivia back at the start, just so that she can make people potentially kill 2 flyers in one turn. So yeah, that's the plan. Let's hope that the plan works. Here we go. Once again, ominous music. So, where we last left things, these children had retrieved 2 of the gemstones from Plegia, but now they're running away from Mary Sue's army of Super Risen.
What?
And if they don't hurry up, they'll be extinct, all of them.
Can it?
Yes, Yarne is supposed to be the one who makes things extinct, but in this future, he is at risk of extinction.
What?
And the Risen have moved in to cut them off, especially flyers. This is bad. Very bad. So, Inigo and Owain will hold off the other side of the bridge.
As you will.
And the pathetic Cavaliers have reached them.
I've got you.
But Inigo and Owain have definitely grown a bond from fighting together so long. In hopes of getting strong enough to defeat Mary Sue, they travelled through many Outrealms and had many adventures together, including one where they met a mysterious noble who liked touching people's faces. But that is a story for another time.
Hey.
And unfortunately, they can't outrun the flyers that are also coming from the west. We need to protect them from them. Yep, they need to get down here now.
Hoy there. No. Yeah.
Yes, Brady doesn't even have a weapon, and that's a problem in this chapter.
We're in this together.
Wait, are you just gonna leave yourself behind to die? No, what about all those adventures you had in the Kingdom of Nor? You only just barely survived that other world. You didn't survive there just to die here. Think of what the Face Toucher did for you.
Yeah.
Plus, think of... Actually, wait a minute. If I say that, I'm getting ahead of myself.
A hero is never idle.
And he's glad that he got to adventure together with him in another world. Maybe not so glad that he met the Face Toucher, but again, that's a story for another time.
No hard feelings?
And of course, they've become such good friends that Inigo can't abandon him anymore. If you see this conversation just after seeing Inigo and Owain's support, it just really shows how much the two of them have grown as characters. This is why I really like Future Past, for again, showing character development for the future children. They did it. They actually did it.
Not today. What?
Not to mention that you have people who care about you in that other world. They'll both fight together, just like they did for Nor.
Yeah.
This scene really gives me so many feels, though. I mean, just how would it feel to be in Brady and Yarne's position now? If they don't move now, they're gonna die, but their friends have basically just sacrificed themselves to save them. The other thing here, though, is I really like how Yarne is the first one to suggest going back for them. People may give Yarne flack for being a coward, but when he really needs to be brave, he really delivers, and I really like that about his character.
What?
See, as much as Yarne is just timid most of the time, he will not abandon his friends like this.
Can it?
Of course, Brady's like that too, but he's just trying not to show it. But, in essence, those two are the expendable ones. Brady and Yarne have the gemstones.
No kidding.
But Yarne's already seen enough people die for his sake. Though I'm sure Inigo and Owain have seen their fair share of death in the other world as well.
Yeah.
Again, I like how Yarne hesitates there. We have to deliver those gemstones. And we have to protect Inigo and Owain if we can. All four of them are getting out of this alive. And that's all we get for that cutscene. Now, since the bridge is down, this means that, yeah, like I said, getting conversations with Owain and Inigo is a massive royal pain. Because you have to go right through here to even get to them. Here being Mary Sue Jr.'s army and Mary Sue Jr. herself. Not only that, but there are also reinforcements that are going to spawn here and around here. So, there are going to be even more enemies around here. So yeah, like I said, getting these conversations is pretty tricky. The way that I usually like to do it is, I like to hope that these two archers attack Owain and Inigo from over here or here. Not here or here, because then Owain and Inigo will kill them. But if I can get these archers attacking from around here, that way there's no way that they're going to die unless I specifically kill them. And that way I can leave them there while I get all the conversations. That is my plan. If that fails, I can attempt to box in one of these snipers and do the same thing with him. But anyway, it's time to begin. Let's just make a save here. The first thing that we need to do here is to kill all of these Falcon Knights right now. Because if we don't, things are going to get very, very bad for us later. Fortunately, we happen to have Yarne with Beastbane here, which is going to be really useful all throughout this chapter. And that's the reason why I put Pan there, is because, well, yeah, she'll stand below him and be able to do dual strikes. I guess I should get used to this if I'm going to play Fates later, because that's the only way you can do dual strikes. Now, after doing that, I need to have Gaius use a bow here. That's why I equipped him with a bow.
What a cupcake.
And Soul's not going to help here. These bows both have, and, yeah, getting hit there and not getting a dual strike. That was incredibly unlucky. I think Pan's chance of dual striking is 80%, and then getting hit as well. Yeah, also though, giving Inigo a bow and equipping a killer axe here so that I have a better chance of hitting with regular dual strikes. This is going to help taking down this Falcon Knight, which I really need to do. Basically, every flyer needs to be gone on the first turn, otherwise you're going to have some serious trouble. Because they're the real enemies that pose a threat to Brady and Yarne. Of course, we do want to get rid of these archers, also pairing up Crom with Lissa here for a brother-sister team. And here you'll see the reason why I basically pumped Brady with all of these magic boosting items. Because I needed to be able to one-shot the flyers. Being able to one-shot Falcon Knights and Dark Flyers, which is actually pretty tricky due to their good resistance, definitely helps here. And Olivia's kind of out of range of most people, which I regretted doing. But at least we can take out that archer with Owain, otherwise he might be a threat to Dark Flyer Lissa. I've actually given Owain 2 legendary weapons this time. He has the Soul Katai and the real Mistletoe, Plus, I've given Longku the Balmung, so that we can have a true successor to Shannon. And behold, Owain's mighty critical. And, well, I would have liked that in the first one. In earlier attempts at this, I actually did get him to use lethality on the first attack, but kind of, yeah, less said about my earlier attempts at this chapter, the better. Speaking of which, this is actually post-commentary. I decided to do that after this chapter just got way too tense and frustrating for me. Yeah, like Crom said, I'm angry. This chapter made me very, very angry and frustrated, and the one time that I did get a full completed run of this, not only did I kind of fail to get some of the conversations, but I also lost Gregor, and I ended up complaining pretty heavily about it, and I really didn't think it made for a fun commentary. It really depressed me, actually, so anyway, I decided that it would actually be best to try and record a full run of this, and then to just post-commentate over it. So anyway, that's what I'm doing here. Now, these Cavaliers pose no threat at all to Inigo and Owain, provided they're trained up. They're basically a way of the game saying, okay, if these Cavaliers... Also, this is amusing. Lethality crits. He got that from Olivia as well. So yeah, these Cavaliers are basically the game's way of saying, if these enemies are a threat to Owain and Inigo, you are not ready to do this chapter yet. Come back when you're a bit more experienced. I mean, when your characters are a bit more experienced. Now, Owain sometimes doesn't finish off the Cavaliers, but don't worry, he'll finish them off on his turn. Not that it really matters, because again, these Cavaliers are no threat at all. Inigo one-rounds them pretty easily. Then again, in my playthrough, Inigo has a father who has quite a high strength stat, so that might not be the case for you. Now, making sure these tricksters kill themselves on the enemy phase is definitely a good idea, because otherwise they have pass, and that can make it very, very hard to protect Brady and Yarne. Oh yeah, and I equipped Lisa with the Book of Naga. I mean, I've got 25 uses of it, and on 2 tomes of it, so 50 uses of Book of Naga... doesn't really seem like a waste to be using it here. So yeah, Owain and Inigo will attack any enemies directly in front of them, but they will not move at all, so you don't need to worry about that. This means actually getting their conversations is quite tricky. Also, Yarne and Brady are going to be running. And if you can give one of the two of them rally movement, well, actually, I think the only one you can get rally movement onto is Brady, because, his mother has access to the Pegasus Knight class branch. Speaking of which, this Dark Flyer right here, I kind of want to set things up so that it suicides itself into me on this turn, and I'll do that by having Brady stand on this woods. Or, for some reason, I'm going to recover Gaius and be a total idiot. Yeah, past me can be a derp sometimes. I think I realized just in a little bit that I kind of screwed this up. Basically, I was like, yeah, I did refresh Brady with Olivia. And then for some reason, I don't think I actually moved right. Oh, wait, I think I did. Equipping Valve Flame, and actually, yeah, I was right, okay? I shouldn't have underestimated past me. Now, I'm putting Yarne here just to get ready for the reinforcements. Yeah, there are a lot of reinforcements in this chapter. I did write down a reinforcement forecast, but it's not as important as it was for the last chapter, because it's not so much the... You just need to remember in general what type of reinforcements spawn and the general areas they spawn from. There's only 2 places in this whole chapter reinforcements can come from, so noting them down is not actually... it doesn't really matter all that much. Anyway, making sure this guy, well, girl, suicides herself on the enemy phase is important, because the less flyers we need to deal with, the better. Trust me, that's going to be important.
So long, trash.
Yeah, these guys really are trash. Anyway, these enemies here, these snipers and Great Knights, are pursuers. The pursuers focus on, well, pursuing Brady and Yarne, and more of them keep coming from around Mary Sue Jr.'s area. Brady and Yarne will keep running, and generally speaking, they're not going to be in range of anyone, so, well, make sure that you've killed the Sorcerer and the Trickster by this turn, otherwise they're in serious trouble. But for now, as long as you block off the bridge, the first wave of pursuers aren't actually going to be too bad. And this is kind of funny. I'm actually having Inigo and Owain defend 2 bridges at the same time in 2 separate areas. Time travel shenanigans. But anyway, I'm also leaving Gaius and Yarne down here again, because this, I believe, is turn 3, and turn 3 is when the reinforcements start. You might also notice something kind of interesting about Brady's staff range, which I'll talk about later if he actually uses one. And I actually need Olivia back here, because sometimes I need her dancing ability to ensure that I kill every flyer that comes down here. Because the pursuing enemies are really no threat to Brady and Yarne, but what is a threat is a bunch of reinforcements here, well, not those ones, those ones! The Dark Flyers and the Griffin Riders. A whole bunch of, and I'm just skipping these because there's really no point in watching these anymore, a whole bunch of flyers are going to head straight south and attempt to head them off at the very end. So, this is, really, well, I keep saying annoying, but it is. They're basically the one difficult thing about this chapter, but it is very, very intense. If you let even a single one of them slip through your defense, Brady and Yarne are dead. Dead, dead, dead. Speaking of dead, I've equipped Inigo here with a bow to ensure that I get as many kills on these archers during the enemy phase. That helps. And Soul helps too. Also, in my practice attempts, I forgot to equip Grigor with the Brave Sword here, and thus I didn't one-round some of these snipers, which wasn't good, because that bottlenecked those Great Knights. Now, that Trickster is not going to intentionally attack you. He likes to focus on getting by you with pass, so you're going to have to take him out personally if you want to get rid of him. And yes, those Griffin Riders are annoying. Anyway, more ineffectual Cavaliers, and yes, they're safe for now as long as we block off the bridge, but they won't be for very long. Like I said, kill this Trickster, otherwise he'll use pass to sneak through your defensive line, and go straight for Brady and Yarne, and you don't want that.
Down, sword hand.
And I'm pretty sure that Owain's internal level is actually not that high, given that he still gets decent experience from those Tricksters. Crom, at this point, gets almost nothing from them, so I'm guessing Crom's basically maxed out. Now I'm going to switch over to swords, because these Great Knights are incoming, though it doesn't really help with Weapon Triangle, because they pretty much all have Axebreaker. I mean, Swordbreaker. They have axes, they have Swordbreaker. I think they have Axebreaker as well. They love spamming breaker skills here, and I believe that is max speed on Inigo. Yes, it is. Yeah, that speed max might be a little low by his standards. Yeah, though Gregor does compensate by giving him a better strength and defense cap, so I guess that helps. Inigo's been really, really useful to me in this entire playthrough. Speaking of useful, we're going to need to make sure that we can try and force some of these enemies to suicide themselves. Now, what I like doing here is locking in one of the Dark Flyers' range and finding a spot where both Dark Flyers can attack one character. Okay, what I'm trying to do here, I think, is...
Oh, hey!
Okay, get a conversation. So, here's Brady's conversation with Rickon, and again, this is completely unique. I may be scrolling through these too fast, because again, I wasn't commentating at the time. But yeah, Rickon has proof that he's his father, and it's not a ring this time, it's tea leaves.
Hey!
But yeah, Brady is kind of an expert at tea leaves. Yep, that proves it. Yeah, Rickon probably would have been a lot older when he had Brady. Well, we came from the past to save the future from the evil of Mary Sue. And we're going to have to, seeing as Brady's kind of unarmed. Well, they are going to need help eventually, though, the others.
Yeah.
And this is a really nice callback. Yeah, I love this line. Yeah, so every single possible father has callbacks to how the romance developed with the mother. I really, really like that here.
Yeah.
Also, you need to get at least one parent conversation with one of the with the children in order to get that child's monologue at the end of the chapter. So that's why I wanted to do that one. And I was hoping that some of the Dark Flyers would attack Lissa here. But I'm not sure. I'm putting Yarne there because for some reason the Griffin Riders like to go for him. Now, on this turn, we're getting Falcon Knights and Wyvern Lords, all of which are also dangerous. Speaking of dangerous, Beastbane is very dangerous towards these Griffin Riders, which is why I want them to attack Yarne. Yes! Go extinct, you stupid reinforcements! I want you to be extinct forever. Unfortunately, these guys just love activating Pavese. I'm not entirely sure why I'm getting so unlucky with Pavese activations here, because their activation rate shouldn't be that high, all things considered. But at least it only marginally helps. They're still gone anyway. And yeah, these enemies are occasionally kind of smart and actually won't attack you, just like the enemies during Tiki's Paralogue. And this is going to hurt if it hits. Fortunately, it didn't. Except I think you were clipping right through him. The terrain here can actually do some very, very weird things with battle animations sometimes. I've heard of instances where if you miss 4 times with a Brave weapon here, it's entirely possible for the target to back away so many times. They actually back off a cliff. And if that happens, they actually wrap back around to the other side of the screen. I think I saw that demonstrated in one of Shadow of Chaos's videos. It looks pretty funny. And so, more cavalry, but as long as you block them off, they shouldn't be too much trouble. The real trouble is these flyers, as you can see. That's why... Okay, here's where the chapter gets really bad. If I leave things as is, Brady and Yarne are going to die. They are going to die right now, and there is nothing that we can do about it. So, let's do something about it. We want to kill as many of these enemies as we can, and we'll start with, and this is also why I'm using Lissa here as a flyer, because I need her to sometimes pick up the slack. Occasionally there are enemies that, that are not in range for us to kill on our side, so we're gonna need to use a flyer here. And let's use a glass bow, and hey, that's exactly enough damage. This will also unlock a parent-child conversation. So that's good. Though, honestly, I'm actually not really that big a fan of Gaius's parent-child conversation with Yarne in this chapter. You'll see, it kind of makes Gaius seem like a bit of a jerk. Here we go.
Oh, yeah? What? Nope.
So once again, the intro is kind of similar.
Huh. Hmm?
There are only treasure chests in the first map.
That was tasty. Right.
Exactly, I mean, Yarne's amazing at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So that conversation, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. It's a little ambiguous as to whether or not Gaius really was just trying to push him away, or whether he actually meant it when he said he just came to the world because of treasure. And it's just, compared to the other father and child supports, I just not really a big fan of that one, especially that last line about Gaius saying, "My race is in it for the long run." This might be kind of reading too far into things, but it almost comes off as just a tiny bit racist to me. It's like it implies that Targwell aren't. Anyway, killing some more enemies here. And making sure to block off the Wyvern Lords, because they will one-round Brady, so that's bad. Also, you need to be very careful. The range that you see on the Wyvern Lords this turn may not be entirely accurate, and you'll find out why once we get to the enemy phase. I'll just say that for now. Now, from the looks of things, we're going to have to leave one enemy alive, so we're going to need to make sure that we block off the rest of these guys. Now, normally this would be really bad, but for some reason the AI is very inconsistent in how smart it is in this chapter. Sometimes it'll do smart things like deliberately stopping short of you so that they'll be able to set up traps for the NPCs, but other times it'll do dumb things like what you're about to see on the enemy phase here. Definitely need to make sure that Brady is blocked off from above, though, otherwise the Wyvern Lords are definitely going to get him. I want to take those, the Dark Flyers out, because they're actually guaranteed to kill Yarne if they reach him, so they're the bigger threat at this point. Now, I can only kill one of these Falcon Knights this turn, which is really annoying. And that's why I brought Lissa here. Yeah, you really do kind of need flyers for this chapter. If you're not as much of an original class branch purist as I am, making someone like Maribel a Pegasus Knight or Dark Flyer might help. And if any of the fathers here have Wyvern Lord as a class option, then that might not be a bad idea either. But I mean, I generally just like going with original classes. Now, I believe we don't have conversations between Brady and himself and Yarne and himself, but since we've got at least one conversation between one of their parents, then we're going to get their monologue at the end of the chapter, so we don't need to worry about that one. Okay, so I'm taking out this Falcon Knight. If one of them has Lance-Fair and the other doesn't, and annoyingly it is kind of random because reinforcement skills are randomly generated when they spawn, if one of them has, Lance-Fair and the other doesn't, you might want to take out the one with Lance-Fair first, because the ones with Lance-Fair are definitely capable of one-rounding Brady, while the ones without it, sometimes Brady survives. And yes, you'll see some pretty good hit rates out of these axe uses against Owain because of Swordbreaker. Why am I... Anyway, and we shall advance the blockade one further, and I'm equipping the Tearfing because of its +5 resistance boost, which is going to help when those Dark Knights start attacking. Yeah, of course, the original Tearfing gave +20 resistance, but that'd be too insane here. Kind of funny though, the legendary weapons in FE4 had such great stat boosts, and yet they actually didn't seem all that broken, except for Forcetti, but that was just the fun kind of broken. They didn't seem all that broken because enemies got them too sometimes. A lot of the legendary weapons you see in this game were originally enemy only, like Hellswath, and yeah, here is where I was talking about the enemies being dumb. So for some reason this Falcon Knight decided to go for Yarne rather than Brady. I am completely fine with that, but I really question their logic. Also, I should not have equipped a bow with Gaius there, because that's heavily reducing its uses, and I should have equipped a sword there. Bit of a waste using that low-use bow for, Now, the reason why you want to be careful of those Wyvern Lords. Those Dark Flyers that spawn as reinforcements. Remember how I said enemy skills are randomly allocated when they spawn? They might sometimes get rally movement. If they do, they will rally the movement of those Wyvern Lords, and that means they'll have one space more movement than you would have been able to see during your turn. Believe me, I know that the hard way, because that got Brady in one of my practice runs. And that was very unlucky. Yeah, this better not hit as well. At least they're activating Vengeance at full health. That I can be thankful for. But yeah, thankfully they can only hit Yarne now. You know, in bonus material in the next part, I might actually show off some of the outtakes. And just show why you want to be careful of rally movements. I thought that the enemies didn't use rally movement smartly, but it looks like these ones do. Oh yeah, if they have rally movement, they'll also have rally speed, and so they'll also get a lot of speed, and generally that gives them enough speed to double Brady or Yarne, and that doesn't end well for anyone. And yeah, the glass bow's already broken. And yeah, some of the enemies have deliberately avoided attacking. Unfortunately, it's going to be another turn before Brady and Yarne are home free. They can only escape off the very bottom right corner of the map. For some reason, bottom left, I mean. For some reason, Mary Sue Jr. has just set up evil death traps on all of the other tiles that will just make them spontaneously explode if they step on them. So, you can only leave there, which is kind of annoying. So this actually does play a lot like an escape chapter. Also, generally speaking, Yarne is the one there and Brady is the one below. Gonna go ahead a heal there, and get a conversation between Brady and himself. Yeah, due to Mary Sue's manipulations, this situation is way worse. They didn't get split up last time, and there weren't as much reason. She's really going all out to make sure they all die.
Get busy dying.
I feel like that voice clip is really inappropriate. Come on, they could have selected a better voice clip there. Just feels kind of weird. And okay, so I'm going to have to block off Brady and Yarne now, because those Griffin Riders that are just there, yeah, they can reach both of them, which I realized to my horror eventually. And yes, this is going to break Gaius' bow, and that is going to result in problems for me later on. Now, I believe there's not much time left for this episode, because I decided to end part 1 after Brady and Yarne escaped. I thought that'd be a good way to split up the chapter. So firstly it's saving those two, and then it's saving the other two. And trust me, they actually do need saving. So, we're gonna have to make sure that we block off the enemies smartly. And make sure that Lisa doesn't, or any flyers for that matter, don't go into range of those snipers, otherwise things end badly. As tempting as it would be to send Lisa up and kill one of them early, I might actually need her to stay back and block the enemies off. Because as you can see here, this is when I realized that these Griffin Riders can actually reach both Brady and Yarne. And Brady is definitely going to die if I leave him on his own. Yeah, that could be a problem. Hey, he actually did notice and didn't freak out. I like that conversation, it's pretty nice. Now, if I was willing to risk Olivia here, I could have got Pan's conversation. I actually forget if I even did or not. Yeah, what I do need to do is, I believe, if Lissa goes... No, not there. If Lissa goes there... Yep, as you can see, they're both safe. So, they're guaranteed to make it out alive this turn. That's good. Now we just need to focus on saving the ones on the bridge. And I mean both Inigo's and Brady's. Not Brady. I mean, they had a support early this chapter. No, wait, that was Brady and Yarne. What am I talking about? I keep messing up which children or which pairs, and please don't hit that. Ah! Okay, at the very least, Owain does have Vantage, so that could help him. But that was very unlucky getting hit by that after Vengeance, so that was not good. I was actually worried that I'd have to restart this chapter again after this. Something to note is that Inigo and Owain are actually a compatible support, and we're going to be unlocking a support from them after this chapter's over.
This is your last dance.
Which is actually kind of ironic. I'll talk about that in a bit.
You are fast.
And goodbye, Great Knight. And Olivia is the only one who hasn't moved. And this is where... Yeah, I think I'm actually going to have to record Pan's conversation with Yarne in another attempt. Sometimes it's a little awkward to get all of the conversations when you're focusing on protecting these children. I would very much like... You know, I had a feeling that he'd Pavese that last one. The bunny stands against the stormy bridge. 91 damage. That's gotta hurt. And level up for Brady. And his magic is still nowhere near maxed. Yeah, I may have given his magic a bit of a help along. It's mostly due to the fact that Brady in my other file was insanely good. That was probably due to how I grinded Maribel in Darkflyer to get him Gale Force. But not only did he have Gale Force, he also had... I also recruited him quite late, which might be why. But he also had over 40 in magic, skill, speed, and luck. And Gale Force and Life Taker. So, yeah, Brady's been a little disappointing in this playthrough for me, but only because the Brady in my first playthrough was so good. So, he has a very, very, very high standard to live up to. And okay, so this is going to be a fairly long enemy phase when all these enemies pile on an Inigo, but thankfully Soul helps keep him alive, and Jewel Guards.
No hard feelings. It's been lovely.
And that's helpful, that'll restore all... And crit! Crit Soul, nice one.
Guess I win.
Yes, yes you do.
How much you think?
So yeah, notice their relatively high hit rates. Again, that's due to Swordbreaker.
This is your last dance.
I would have preferred a Soul Crit, but still, Inigo's being very, very, very good here.
Beautiful.
He definitely wants to save his other self. And avoid this horrible future from ever happening in the first place. I don't see why you attacked in close range, but I won't question it. Again, the enemy AI in this chapter is very inconsistent. Sometimes it's another critical. Sometimes it's really, really smart, and sometimes it is completely moronic. Like in cases like that. Also, I am a little confused as to why the enemies are avoiding a Wayne. Do they know that he has Vantage and Lethality?
No hard feelings.
And they're just trying to avoid getting slaughtered by that? Like, I wonder, like, because I get the feeling that if all of the enemies attacked him, he was bound to get hit sooner or later and die, so I'm kind of glad they were dumb and went for an ego. Nice Jewel Guard.
This is your last dance.
Wow, that was how many criticals in one turn? An ego is really going at it here. And more flyers. Joy. With that, Brady is safe. And so is Yarne. And with that, I'll see you in the next part.